Bombshell tonight, the Nolan Wells autopsy furor. This as the FBI swoops in. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us. I find it very difficult to believe that not one, but two medical examiners.
On July 4th, 18-year-old college football player Nolan Wells vanished from a remote island off the Mississippi coast. Days later, his body was found. The official narrative from local authorities was swift, no foul play suspected. But the family's independent autopsy, conducted by Dr. Roger Mitchell, has just landed, and it eviscerates that conclusion. The official cause and manner of death are now undetermined pending investigation. The pathologist noted a focal red discoloration on the back of Nolan's head. He could not rule out foul play. Before we go deeper into what the documents actually show, make sure you're subscribed to Project Cold Case.
He said the body had marked decompensation. Another limitation faced by this forensic pathologist was the absence of the anterior internal neck structures, the trachea and the laryngeal cartilage.
Because we don't just cover the story, we follow the evidence. This is not a story about a simple drowning. This is a forensic puzzle that has just lost several critical pieces. The independent autopsy was commissioned by the family, represented by attorney Ben Crump, because of a level of perhaps distrust in the investigation from the state. That distrust appears to have been justified. The family's preliminary findings present a devastating reality. The pathologist who examined Nolan's body was missing the neck, the trachea, laryngeal cartilage, thyroid horn, and most.
That is the only question. We have consistently been degraded by the public. There's been questions about our parenting, our GoFundMe, this, that, and other. I've been called a racist. I am a healthcare provider, and I take my job very seriously. I love everyone. And it's been difficult for.
The anterior inner neck structures were absent, not received with the body. The trachea and the laryngeal cartilage, the thyroid horn and the hyoid bone were not received with the body. Therefore, this pathologist cannot rule out injury to the neck as a contributor or a cause of death. This is an unprecedented complication. The state held back key evidence. The family was left with an incomplete body. The primary question shifts from what happened to Nolan Wells to why was the truth withheld? Na Rutherford, a coroner, highlighted the severe implications.
Family and to everyone looking for answers. At this hour, I don't think anyone is guilty, but I do know that there is a conflict in the stories, and we are not stopping until we know what happened to Nolan Wells. So you can send all the hate and vitriol you want. Have at it. You were seeing family attorney Ben Crump followed by Nolan Wells' mother speaking. Dear Lord in heaven, what is wrong with people? If this were your child, wouldn't you want to know what happened? He goes out with friends. They all come back. He's dead. I don't understand.
Preliminary report second autopsy death of Nolan Xavier Wales. Cause of death undetermined pending investigation. The manner of death undetermined pending investigation. Focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, the occipital region. On July 4th, 18-year-old college football player Nolan Wells vanished from a remote island off the Mississippi coast. Days later, his body was found. The official narrative from local authorities was swift, no foul play suspected. But the family's independent autopsy.
We want you to see what the family has seen. Don't you think, Joe Scott Morgan, that the second medical examiner might need the throat to figure out what happened? I mean, Joe Scott, it's on fire, claims that Nolan Wells had been lynched, that he had been strangled, asphyxiated. Do I believe a lynching occurred? No, I do not believe that. but I do know I need to see the neck.
Yeah, and let me tell you where the neck is. It's or the organs of the neck, as it's referred to. These neck structures.
Because we don't just cover the story, we follow the evidence. This is not a story about a simple drowning. This is a forensic puzzle that has just lost several critical pieces. The independent autopsy was commissioned by the family, represented by attorney Ben Crump, because of a level of perhaps distrust in the investigation from the state. That distrust appears to have been justified. The family's preliminary findings present a devastating reality. The pathologist who examined Nolan's body was missing the neck, the trachea, laryngeal cartilage, thyroid horn, and, most critically,
retain it. And it is being retained, I can promise you that, as are other tissue samples. But the problem is that when you get into these structures in the neck, one of the things you're trying to assess is, was this a drowning? Also, is there any kind of trauma? If people will just put their hands right here in the midline of your neck, you'll feel that kind of cartilaginous body there. That's cartilage, right? That can be fractured. Need I remind you, Epstein, right? So you have to examine this. Also, here's our word, Nancy. They're talking about the hyoid is missing as well. So they don't have that. They've
me, Joe, Scott, Morgan.
They called it a focal discoloration, meaning that it wasn't a diffuse discoloration, meaning it didn't cover a wide area. It was very specific to that area. So specific, in fact, that they could measure it to determine that it didn't spread anywhere else. So I think that's really important because that could be a point of impact. Duck Cameo. Rutherford confirmed this is likely an antemortem injury, something that happened before he died. The body was found with marked decomposition, but the focal nature of
meaning like this, so manual strangulation, and an outlier here is ligature strangulation, but primarily hands-on. So they're looking for little fractures in here all along the way. So that has to be dissected, along with these other, there's a couple of other structures that you look at as well. They've held on to this for some reason. I don't have the answer for that, but I can tell you it's being preserved. I don't know if they're getting further consultation on their end, that is the state. And I'm sure that... Yeah.
Stop. Joe Scott, you're giving me so much information. Let me tell everybody, if they don't know who you are, why you're here tonight.
Included in this report relative to the second autopsy that's been released is that the doctor here, who is a fantastic doctor, highly credentialed, knows what he is doing, former chief medical examiner for DC, he is stating that he has taken tissue samples.
The evidence may show. His parents have pointed out that their son, a star athlete, would not have just vanished. The family has pleaded for videos and witnesses to come forward. There are reports of disturbances on the island. The waters are muddy. The body itself was found in questionable circumstances. The family claims he was found fully clothed, but he was seen on video without a shirt earlier in the day. The contradictory accounts do not end with the body. Attorney Ben Crump claimed the United Cajun Navy found Nolan fully clothed. The United Cajun Navy contradicted that statement, saying he was found only in swim trunks. This seems like a simple contradiction, but it's a critical discrepancy. It suggests a breakdown in communication at the most basic level of the investigation.
Out to decide. Okay, face down. Do you agree with that, Brian?
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
Okay, back face down. I find that hard to believe, but that's according to reports.
Yeah, and so understand this with decomposition. Okay, it's like I said, it's going to be diffuse. And
preliminary report second autopsy death of Nolan Xavier Wales. Cause of death undetermined pending investigation. The manner of death undetermined pending investigation. Focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, the occipital region. On July 4th, 18-year-old college football player Nolan Wells vanished from a remote island off the Mississippi coast. Days later, his body was found. The official...
The lungs, that lung tissue, and he can identify it even in it. I'm going to be real graphic here. It arrived in a bag, okay? So he would have to pick through this, find lung tissue in there, and then sample that. And he's going to be looking microscopically for signs of drowning there, and he'll make his own assessment. One of the things I'm concerned about, Nancy, and I hope that they did this down in Mississippi is that when they do this initial examination, did they do diatom testing, which is you're looking for these little bits of algae that are distinct to both freshwater and saltwater. And if you find that
Absolutely. And yes, to answer your first question, some of these boats, just by the names, people that name the boats, and if you can detect registration numbers, if it's registered in the state of Mississippi, that's easy to find. I'm told that over 60 people have been interviewed by law enforcement. I don't know who they are.
Because we
or
don't
how
just
they
cover
were.
the story, we follow the evidence. This is not a story about a simple drowning. This is a forensic puzzle that has just lost several critical pieces. The independent autopsy was commissioned by the family, represented by attorney Ben Crump, because of a level of perhaps distrust in the investigation from the state. That distrust appears to have been justified. The family's preliminary findings present a devastating reality. The pathologist who examined Nolan's body was missing the neck.
Food designed for cats to thrive, while big pet food uses cheap filler. Smalls features 80% animal protein and zero artificial junk. 88% of cat parents report better digestion, softer fur, and more energy for their cats to play. It's a healthy investment your cat will love. If you want to invest in your cat's health, Smalls is giving you 60% off your cat's first order. 60% off plus free shipping and free treats for life when you go to smalls.com/Nancy, SMALLS, smalls.com/Nancy. 60% off your first order, free shipping, and free treats for life when you head to smalls.com/Nancy. Thanks, Smalls, and thank you from our cat, Cinnamon. The investigation goes on, and for all of the detractors on either side, we're not stopping, so you're wasting your time. As the case is being built, remember, if you know or think you know anything regarding this case, please dial 228-769-3063. If this were your child, wouldn't you want the answers, even if it brings down the roof of the courthouse? I would. Tonight, we remember an American hero, Sergeant Jeremy Brown, Clark County Sheriff's Washington, shot in the line of duty, leaving behind wife Jill and 5 children. American hero, Sergeant Jeremy Brown. Thank you to our guests, but especially to you for being with us tonight. Nancy Gray signing off for tonight, but I'll see you tomorrow night. And until then, good night, friend. Hi, guys. Please join us on our mission to find missing people, especially children, to solve unsolved homicides. And if you're on the go, please join us on your favorite podcast app where you can get all our content, where we, in our way, seek justice.